Okay, good morning. My name is Danielle, and I am the Community Engagement Specialist, and I am here to present to you our Empowered Education presentation. And so, if this is your first Empowered Education presentation, make sure that after you watch this presentation, that you go back and look at our past presentations. This is our second presentation for our Powerful Men series. So we've done Powerful Men. We also did one on the isms, and we have a lot of good information in those presentations. We also have done one for parents, we've done one for men, amplifying men, advocates, and people behind the scenes that really help us do the work. And so we have a lot of great empowered education presentations. We also have Motivational Monday, which is where we listen to TED Talks, speeches, things like that that impact us and empower us to get started for the week. And then on Fridays, we have Film Friday, which is where we watch a documentary or a film that is about something revolving around sexual violence. And that's something that we screen and we watch together. So if those are things that you're interested in, make sure to turn our post notifications on. We do Motivational Mondays at 9 o'clock on Monday. Then we do Empowered Educations at 10 o'clock on Thursday, and then we do our Film Fridays at 2:30 p.m. on Friday. So make sure that you have our post notifications turned on so that you can be a part of that. Also, if you have been watching for a long time, make sure to leave a comment about things that you like about our presentations and things that you want to see in upcoming presentations and how this has impacted you. That does a lot for us to know how to best serve the community. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so this is our presentation. It takes unity. It's a bystander's guide on being empowered and educated, because once we're educated about the problem, we can be the change to fix it and support survivors along the way. So here at the Turning Point, we have a 24-hour crisis hotline. So that is 1-800-886-7273. And at that number, you can sorry, I had to make sure I wasn't muted. 1-800-886-7273. You can call that number at any time, rain or shine, holiday, 3 o'clock in the morning, and there is an advocate that can answer that phone call and answer any questions you have of revolving around sexual violence. So the next three things are things that we offer as in addition to the crisis hotline. So we have counseling. We offer free counseling for survivors of sexual violence and their friends and family members. It is very, very important to us that survivors of sexual violence and their friends and family members have access to free counseling to work through this trauma and be able to friends and family be able to support the survivor in their life and for the survivor to get the help they need for free. So next, we have advocacy, which is where we send advocates into the hospital to support survivors during their sexual assault nurse examination. And so during this exam, they will provide the survivor with any resources and information and also support them during that exam, answer any questions they have, and get them started with counseling if that's something that they want at that time. And then lastly is this education, where we go into the community and different social media platforms and spread education and awareness about sexual violence, its roots and its causes, and how you can prevent sexual violence. So our mission. Our mission is to highlight the impact of sexual violence on individuals and our community through education programs that foster hope, encourage change, and prevent sexual violence. Join us in the fight against sexual violence. The Turning Point is committed to reducing the prevalence of sexual violence in our community. We firmly believe that for this change to occur, each person has a responsibility and must do their part to prevent sexual violence. So, Powerful Men. This is our 5-week series called Powerful Men, and this is about men in our in media and powerful men in high profile jobs to be able, or who use their power to exert their power and control over women and perpetuate sexual violence. So last week we talked about Jeffrey Epstein and his cases, both civil and legal. And now we are going to be talking about R. Kelly. So Robert Sylvester Kelly was born January 8th of 1967 and is an American singer and songwriter. And also he is a record producer. He has been credited with helping redefine R&B and hip hop, earning nicknames such as the King of R&B, the King of Pop Soul, and the Pied Piper of R&B. Excuse me. Since the 1990s, Kelly has been the subject of numerous allegations of sexual abuse and misconduct, often with underage girls. All charges he denies. In 2002, he was indicted. Why can I say? I can't speak today. Indicted on 13 counts of child pornography, but was acquitted of all charges in 2008. In January 2019, a widely viewed Lifetime docuseries titled Surviving R. Kelly detailed allegations of sexual abuse by multiple women. Allegations that Kelly denies. Facing pressure from the public using the Mute R. Kelly hashtag, RCA Records dropped Kelly. On February 22nd, 2019, Kelly was indicted on 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse. So on July 11th, 2019, Kelly was arrested on federal charges alleging sex crimes and obstruction of justice. Kelly faces a total of 18 federal counts, including child pornography, kidnapping, and forced labor as of July 12, 2019. As a result, he is currently incarcerated at Metropolitan Correctional Center in Chicago. So that's just a quick rundown over who he is and the things that he is being charged with. So let's get into it on a deeper level. So let's start first things first with the illegal marriage. So according to the Vibe and the Chicago Sun-Times, 27-year-old Kelly and 15-year-old protege Aaliyah were legally married in a secret ceremony on August 31st, 1994 in Cook County. Upon meeting Kelly and prior to the nuptials, Aaliyah admitted she had falsely stated she was 18. In a 2008 interview, Kelly's tour manager, Demetrius Smith, said that he facilitated the wedding by obtaining false identification for Aaliyah, which listed her as 18 years of age. Kelly had been introduced to Aaliyah by her uncle, Barry Hankerson, just 3 years prior when she was 12 years old. In 2019, a contemporaneous video surfaced showing R. Kelly stating that Aaliyah was aged 14 years less than a year before the marriage took place. The marriage was annulled in February 1995 at the behest of Aaliyah's family by a Michigan judge. Kelly and Aaliyah, however, both denied that the marriage occurred and even denied that their relationship had ever moved beyond friendship. Despite denials of marriage, in May 1997, Aaliyah filed a lawsuit in Cook County to have her existing marriage records expunged, claiming that she was underage at the time of marriage, and lied by signing the marriage certificate as an 18-year-old, and that she could not legally enter into marriage without parental consent. The expungement request was in the middle of a lawsuit filed by Tiffany Hawkins, who was seeking to use the marriage documents in her case against Kelly. Hawkins later accepted a settlement of $250,000 from Kelly, subject to a confidentiality agreement in 1998. In 2019, federal prosecutors in New York charged Kelly with bribery related to the 1994 purchase of a fake ID for Aaliyah in order to obtain a marriage license. So, in case you're confused, R. Kelly knew that Aaliyah was underage. He met her when she was 12 years old. He knew that she was 12 years old. And then she was 14 less than a year before the marriage took place. So she might have just turned 15 when they got married. And he helped her get the fake ID to be able to get married at the courthouse without parental consent. So without her parents knowing that they were getting married. So allegations of child pornography and abuse. So in 1998, Kelly paid Tiffany Hawkins $250,000 after she claimed Kelly had induced her to have group sex with other teenage girls when she was 15 years old. On February 3, 2002, a video surfaced allegedly showing Kelly engaged in sex with and urinating on an underage girl. The story which was released by an unknown source, was sent to the Chicago Times, the newspaper that broke the story on February 8, 2002. The news surfaced as Kelly was to perform at the opening ceremony of the 2002 Winter Olympics. So Kelly said in interviews that he was not the man in the video. In June 2002, Kelly was indicted in Chicago on 21 counts of child pornography. That same month, Kelly was apprehended by Miami Police Department on a Chicago arrest warrant. The alleged victim refused to testify at the trial, and a Chicago jury found Kelly not guilty of 14 out of 14 counts of child pornography in June 2008. While investigating the photographs reported in the Chicago Sun-Times, Polk County Sheriff's Office conducted a search of Kelly's residence in Davenport, Florida. During the search, officers recovered 12 images of an alleged underage girl on a digital camera wrapped in a towel in a duffel bag, which allegedly depicted Kelly involved in sexual conduct with the female minor. According to the Chicago Sun-Times, the girl in the images obtained from Kelly's Florida home also appears in the videotape, which got Kelly indicted in in Chicago. Kelly was arrested in January 2003 on those charges. In March 2004, these charges were dropped due to a lack of probable cause for the search warrants. So, what are we seeing here? Here we have clear evidence that a crime has taken place, but due to good lawyers or just little things here and there, he's able to get off because, oh, well, you didn't have enough probable cause to get the search warrant that found the child pornography. You would think we'd just be focused on the fact that they found child pornography, but instead, he was able to get the charges dropped. So let's move along. So now we get into his alleged sex cult. So Jim DeRoe, I don't know how to say his last name, I'm so sorry, reported for BuzzFeed News on July 17, 2017, that Kelly was accused by 3 sets of parents on holding their daughters in an abusive cult. Kelly and the alleged victims deny the allegations. In March 2018, BBC World Service aired a documentary entitled R. Kelly, Sex, Girls, and Videotape, presented by reporter Ben Zand, that explored the 2017 allegations. This was followed up in May with the BBC 3 documentary, R. Kelly, The Sex Scandal Continues, which includes interviews with the parents of the Savage daughters. So Kelly was again accused of misconduct in April 17th of 2018 by a former partner of his who claimed that R. Kelly intentionally infected her with a sexually transmitted disease. A representative for Kelly stated that he categorically denies all claims and allegations. In a January 2019 BBC News article, a woman named Asante McGee, whom Kelly met in 2014 and taken to live with him some months later, said she lived with not only Kelly alone, but with other women. She said, he controlled every aspect of my life while I lived with him. McGee later moved out on her own accord. So when we talk about sex cults and that kind of subsect of sexual violence, there's a lot of mental like abuse put in place to keep people in the position. Like, to get people into a cult and to keep people into a cult, you have to have manipulation and different ways to make them feel like they cannot leave, they cannot be without you, all of these things. So in theory, you may be able to leave, but in your head, it's, oh, I can't leave, I can't do this, I won't be able to do this, I won't be able to survive without them, even though I'm facing abuse, so on and so forth. Um, you find reasons to stay. So even though she was able to leave on her own accord, that doesn't mean that the other women there are there on their own accord, even if they could leave on their own accord, based off of abuse and things like that that could be happening. So boycott and industry response. So I'm very excited to talk about this side of things because we didn't have this with the Jeffrey Epstein thing. He was still, working and maintained all of his connections, faced no sort of like work ramifications for his things that he was convicted for, or things that he was being charged with. He just continued with his life. So this is a very different response to R. Kelly's allegations, finally. So the boycott and industry response. In May of 2018, the Women of Color branch of the Time's Up movement called for a boycott of Kelly's music and performances over the many allegations against him. The boycott was accompanied by a social media campaign called Mute R. Kelly. In response, his management said that Kelly supports the movement in principle, but targeting him was the attempted lynching of a Black man who has made extraordinary contributions to our culture. The music streaming service Spotify announced on May 10th that it was going to stop promoting or recommending music by both R. Kelly and XXXTentacion. Um, Spotify stated, "We don't censor content because of an artist or creator's behavior, but we want our editorial decisions, what we choose to program, to reflect our values." 2 days later, Apple Music and Pandora also announced they would no longer be featuring or promoting R. Kelly's music. Spotify received criticism from members of the music industry who expressed worries of a slippery slope of muting artists since R. Kelly had not ever actually been convicted of any crime. Spotify ultimately reversed this decision. Now, based off the evidence that we have read thus far, even though R. Kelly was not convicted of a crime, there was evidence that a crime was committed. So for these music platforms, these music streaming platforms, to stop streaming his music, even though Spotify eventually reversed their decision, hopefully they, go back and redo that. But that's really powerful to survivors. Imagine as a survivor, knowing that people aren't going to still be promoted and streamed, even though they've committed heinous acts and heinous crimes. So let's continue. So this is more, we're getting a little bit deeper. So allegations of music industry complicity. So the Washington Post ran a lengthy article in May 2018 alleging that the music industry executives had been aware of Kelly's sexually abusive behavior towards young women for years, but did little or nothing about them due to his success as a partner or as a performer and a songwriter. As early as 1994, the newspaper reported his tour manager had urged Jive Records founder Clive Calder to tell Kelly he would not release the singer's records if he continued to have incidents with women after every concert he gave. Calder told the Post that he regretted not having done more at the time, saying clearly, "We missed something." Former Jive president Barry Weiss told the newspaper that during 20 years with the label, he never concerned himself with Kelly's private life and was unaware of 2 lawsuits filed against Kelly and the label by women alleging sexual misconduct, suits in which the label had successfully argued it was not liable. Larry Kahn, another Jive executive who worked closely with the singer even after viewing the sex tape, likewise implied that it was not the label's responsibility and pointed to Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis as musicians whose labels continued to release and promote their records despite public awareness that they were involved with young women. Executives at Epic Records also took a similarly relaxed attitude towards allegations of Kelly's sexual misconduct. The Post claimed in 2002, after he signed with the label, executive David McPherson allegedly avoided viewing a copy of a tape purportedly showing the singer having sex with an underage girl, even as he e- even as he had warned Kelly's assistant that if it turned out to be Kelly on that tape, the label would drop him. McPherson did not respond to the Post's request for comment. An intern with the label whose work suffered after she began a relationship with Kelly, ultimately costing her position, settled with Epic for $250,000. Kathy Carroll, the executive she worked for, regularly rebuked her former subordinate for having an affair with a married man whenever the two met at social functions for years afterwards, and the damage to the woman's reputation led her to abandon her career in the music industry. Carol told the newspaper that the woman was starstruck. A lot of times it's not really the men, she says. The Washington Post also suggested the labels were complicit in the sex cult allegations from the previous summer's BuzzFeed piece. Employees at the studios where Kelly recorded were required to sign non-disclosure agreements and not enter certain rooms, which they said they believed were where Kelly made the women stay while he worked. Despite the agreements, the newspaper was able to publish screenshots of text exchanges where women in the rooms asked Kelly's assistants to let them out so they could go to the bathroom or get food. The newspaper also published pictures taken after Kelly had concluded a 6-week session at a Los Angeles studio, paid for by his then current label, RCA Records, showing a cup of urine sitting on a piano and urine stains on the wooden floor of another room. So, the musical response to the allegations. So, Kelly released a 19-minute long I Admit on SoundCloud on July 23rd, 2018 as a response to his accusers. The song did not contain any criminal admissions despite its title and chorus, which repeats the lyric, I admit I did it. In I Admit, Kelly denies allegations of domestic violence and pedophilia, asserting that they are matters of opinion. Kelly also denounces Jim DeRogatis and repudiates his investigative reports claim of Kelly operating a sex cult. Addressing the Mute R. Kelly social media campaign, Kelly sings Only God Can Mute Me. The song was criticized by reviewers who described it as an act of trolling. Andrea Kelly and Carrie Killikelly, R. Kelly's ex-wife and brother, responded to I Admit with a remix and a diss track. In I Admit, Kelly admits to various acts, including dropping out of high school and not attending church. He claims to be dyslexic and asserts that his inability to read his recording contract caused him to forfeit publishing rights to his music, which contributed to Kelly's financial troubles, including his $20 million tax debt to the Internal Revenue Service. In the song, Kelly confesses that he was sexually unfaithful and frequented strip clubs. Kelly reveals he lost his virginity in his childhood when he was raped by an older female family member, elaborating on the disclosures from his 2012 autobiography, Solar Coaster, The Diary of Me. Despite the song's title and Kelly's reputation of the lyric, I admit I did it, in the chorus, it does not contain any criminal admissions. Kelly denies accusations, as we said before, of domestic violence, involvement in sex cult, and pedophilia. And he did not admit guilt regarding the 2008 acquittal of his sex tape allegations, but maintains that he has been falsely accused and sings that his lawyer advised him to not say anything. Although Kelly admits to casual sex with both older and younger ladies, he states that all of them were over age. The lyrics denounce derogatis for profiting from his reports of Kelly's scandals, and John Legend, Steve Harvey, and Tom Joyner for refusing to publicly defend Kelly from his accusers. In response to the Mute Kelly campaign, again, he said, "Only God can mute me," and Kelly expresses support for a women's group, but also exclaims that they're trying to lock me up like Bill, referring to Bill Cosby, who at the time was awaiting incarceration after his April 2018 sexual assault convictions. Kelly finishes the song by telling the audience to stay out of his business and inviting his hometown of Chicago to use his image as inspiration for city youth. So this whole song is a kind of making fun of the charges that he's faced and making it as though it is something that's laughable or that is just a matter of opinion, when the fact is that he illegally married an underage woman. He illegally had sex and recorded child pornography with an underage girl, and he has been seen like having videos, pictures, and things of other underage girls. So these aren't matters of opinions, these are facts. So, Surviving R. Kelly. In January 2019, Lifetime began airing a 6-part documentary series detailing sexual abuse and misconduct allegations against Kelly. Within 2 weeks, Kelly launches a Facebook page where he sought to discredit the accusers who appeared in the docuseries. Facebook removed the page for violating their standards as it appeared to contain personal contact information for his accusers. The second season, titled Surviving R. Kelly Part 2, The Reckoning, premiered on January 2nd, 2020. So, alleged sexual abuse of minors. So, on January 22nd, 2019, the Cook County State Attorney Office in Illinois charged Kelly with 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse. The charges allege that from 1998 to 2010, Kelly sexually abused 4 females, 3 of whom who were teen minors at the time, with evidence including a video provided by Michael Avenatti that allegedly depicts a new crime. Kelly turned himself in the day the charges were announced. The judge set a $1 million bond and ordered Kelly to have no contact with any minor under the age of 18 or any alleged victim. Kelly pleaded not guilty to all charges, which he called lies. He was released on bail after 2 nights in jail. On March 6, 2019, television program CBS, the morning broadcast of an interview with Kelly and Gayle King, in which Kelly insisted on his innocence and blamed social media for the allegations, attracting media attention, which was an emotional outburst by Kelly during the interview where he stood up, pounded on his chest, and yelled. During the same airing, 2 women who reside with Kelly, whose parents say are brainwashed captives, declared love for Kelly and defended him. On July 11, 2019, Kelly was arrested on federal charges alleging sex crimes and obstruction of justice. On July 12, 2019, federal prosecutors from New York and Chicago indicted Kelly on 18 charges, including child sexual exploitation, child pornography production, kidnapping, forced labor, racketeering, and obstruction of justice. He was first denied bail in October 2019 and denied bail release again in April 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic. He is currently incarcerated at Metropolitan Correctional Center in Chicago. On August 5, 2019, a Minnesota prosecutor charged Kelly with soliciting a minor and prostitution following a 2001 allegation of inviting a girl up to his hotel room and paying her $200 to remove her clothing and dance with him. Kelly's attorney, Steve Greenberg, stated that case is a pure publicity grab by the prosecutor. Greenberg also tweeted, new charges at R. Kelly, give me a break. This is beyond absurd. Hennepin County State Attorney Mike Freeman said Minnesota victims deserve their day in court, and that's why we're here. In my view, too many prosecutors are ignoring victims. This one doesn't. Other legal issues. After a July 1996 brawl in Lafayette, Louisiana health club involving Kelly and his entourage, Kelly was placed on a year unsupervised probation starting August 13, 1997, after being found guilty of battery. One of the victims needed 110 facial stitches. Also that year, a 20-year-old accused Kelly in civil court of having sexual relations with her when he was 24 and she was 15. Kelly settled the lawsuit in 1998 for $250,000, according to the Chicago Sun-Times. On April 8, 1998, Kelly was arrested on 3 misdemeanor charges of disorderly conduct, including 1 charge of violating a noise ordinance for playing his music extremely loud from his car. Prosecutors from the district attorney's office dropped the first 2 charges on May 7th and the noise charge on July 22nd that year. On March 6, 2019, Kelly was taken back to Cook County Jail after failing to pay $161,633 in child support. On March 9, 2019, he was released after someone who did not want to be identified paid off the child support. His lawyer says he could not discuss the payment due to a gag order. So, we have a lot of information. That was a lot of information. Just like with Jeffrey Epstein, we see a long history of them doing the same thing and getting off, and then doing the same thing and getting off, until eventually, after 20 years, then they finally see some sort of it catches up to them, and they have to face legal ramifications finally, and their lawyers can't get them off because the evidence is 20 years worth of evidence. So let me know your thoughts down below on the case, on ways that you think that we can support survivors who are using their voices and then not being heard. As prosecutions, the head prosecutors changed over time, we saw that there was more emphasis on survivors and their voices being heard and them being supported and making sure that they find justice. And if you are so interested into the story, make sure to stay tuned for Film Friday for tomorrow at 2:30, where we'll be watching a documentary on R. Kelly and going into the same things we talked about today, but in more detail over a longer period of time. So make sure to turn our post notifications on, check out our other empowered education presentations. Let us know how this impacted you and ways that you think that you've learned how to support survivors during sexual violence and preventing sexual violence. So leave a comment down below and like and share, and we'll see you on Friday at 2:30 for Film Friday. Bye.